Windsor Greys, leading the Royal Carriages on day 4. Everybody starts at Windsor Castle, is entertained by Her Majesty, leave by car, and then they move into these landauls. And the horses who've done such wonderful work all week in, let's not forget the heat, doing it one last time. The Queen joined by the Duke of York, opposite whom is Lord Valentine Cecil, and opposite Her Majesty is John Warren, her racing advisor. And there are the Greys coming through the Golden Gates. The Golden Gates, which is where the final and longest race of Royal Ascot, the Queen Alexandra, will start at 5:35. And Her Majesty in an outfit today which is described as an Angela Kelly dress and jacket, silk with shades of green and ivory. Last worn at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in April 2018. The matching hat is also by Angela Kelly in printed tsunami, and that matching green feather. Hope that Her Majesty's enjoyed her week. She is a great racing connoisseur, and she will know some of what we've seen this week has been out of the very, very top draw. That thrilling Gold Cup won by Stradivarius on Thursday, and that Alpha Centauri romp yesterday. And she'll make the presentation following the week's big sprint, the Diamond Jubilee, just after 4:20. Lord Valentine Cecil in the front carriage is the 4th son of the 6th Marquis of Salisbury. Comes from a family with strong interests in Africa. Was a major in the armed forces at the time that he retired. In earnest conversation with John Warren on the far side as we look at them. And let us also say thank you to the weather department who've played their part, because they've been able to have the landau hoods down, and this huge crowd have enjoyed every minute of these. Lord Valentine with John Warren and the Duke of York, and he and his daughters have all made presentations during the course of this week and been very, very much part of Her Majesty's party throughout these 5 days. The Royal Carriage is pulled by the Windsor Greys. It's the Cleveland Bays that pull the other 3 carriages. And a man who enjoyed one of his finest hours here as a trainer, Ian Balding, is with his wife, and Richard Haller and his wife from South Africa. Ian Balding was, of course, the royal trainer for many years, and probably, well, certainly the best horse he ever trained. Millreef back in 1971, won the Derby and won the King George here. Ian, a distinguished sportsman in his own right, actually was a Cambridge Blue at rugby back in 1961, and his 2 children, of course, are Claire, who made a presentation yesterday, needs no further words from me, and son Andrew now in charge of the family training operation at Kingsclear. And his brother Toby, sadly no longer with us, enjoyed so much success in national hunt racing. But it's great that the dynasty continues. The next generation doing so well. Claire in broadcasting, and Andrew as a much respected trainer, and he does operate from the family's Kingsclear base. I think the ladies are just about winning the battle with their hats in the wind. It's quite blowy, but it's an important part of it, because it'd be very, very humid if this wind did drop. I think the 3rd carriage, they could probably talk and talk, because there's so much for them to talk about. One of the Queen's current trainers, William Haggas, far side, and his wife Maureen in the red, who is the, of course, daughter of Lester Piggott, and Willie Mullins and his wife Jackie. William, of course, first winner back in 1987, but just a few weeks ago kept Her Majesty up late on a Friday night as Call to Mind in her silks won the Belmont Gold Cup. Great achievement for William, who's trained two classic winners, notably Shamit in 1996 to win the Derby. He's also won an Oaks. And Willie Mullins, well, his CV from a famous racing dynasty. One of four brothers, his son Patrick, Ireland's champion amateur Willie, won the National, won everything at Cheltenham bar the Gold Cup, and still wants to win the Gold Cup here. And in the fourth carriage, it's great to see nearest us on the right, Chickie Oaksey, Lady Oaksey, whose husband John, a distinguished amateur rider, a very distinguished journalist as well, and recently elected with Frankie Dettori, a vice patron of the Injured Jockeys Fund, for whom she has worked and worked with distinction for so many years. And Lieutenant Colonel Sir Andrew Ford and his wife, he's the controller of the Lord Chamberlain's office, and what that means is he is responsible for the organisation of so many of the major events. If you were lucky enough to get an invitation to Harry and Meghan's recent wedding, you had to reply to the Lord Chamberlain's office, of which he's the full-time head. And also in that fourth carriage, Her Majesty's Equerry, Major Nana Tusami Ankara. So what great scenes. It's amazing to think that it was back in 1945 that the then Princess Elizabeth first came to Royal Ascot. 73 years on, with of course one detour to the Knave's Mire in York. Her Majesty's attended every year. And how the people packed either side of this running rail in these enclosures are loving every minute of this. If you asked the Ascot Authority to name picture-perfect conditions for this, they'd probably use this as their example. Before long you'll hear the Household Cavalry Band play the National Anthem under the direction of Major Craig Hallett. I was mentioning the Queen's Equerry. He's actually a Household Cavalry officer, so it's been a week very strong for the Household Cavalry, and appropriate that it should be their band on duty. A great happy scene, and one of the great successes of recent years, the addition of the Saturday. Touch more informal, touch younger generation, but still it is like nowhere else when the Queen and these Ascot Landors come down the straight mile. The opening ceremony every day of the world's most famous horse race meeting. Another look at the outfit, and shortly the band will play the National Anthem before they make their way to the bandstand for the post-race singing, which bookends the day.
Take a pause, Mike.
A great cheer from the crowd as the Royal Standard is now raised above this incredible grandstand. If you'd driven in through Windsor and over the flyover this morning, you would have seen the Royal Standard above Windsor Castle. The National Anthem signals the moment for it to be raised here. And the carriages turn and under the arch into the approach to the paddock, and huge crowds gathered there as well. The Cleveland Bay is leading the other carriages. The Ascot Landau's, one of which was used for Prince Harry and his new bride as they went on that ride around Windsor on their wedding day. Busy day for Sir Andrew Ford that day. He's a guest of Her Majesty in the fourth carriage with his wife, their equerry, and also Lady Oaksey. But now the Windsor Greys emerge. Sun-kissed Ascot. Those that haven't had their dessert have left it. They can wait. They all want a royal view of this. There's another look at that royal outfit. Silk with green and ivory. Under the arch where the boards which show the winners of the Gold Cup, the name Stradivarius added, and also the winners of the big summer championship, the King George VI, can be found. And now the Greys turn right. And that means that everybody can get an even closer view. As round to the point where Johnny Weatherby, the representative of the Queen here at Ascot and the chairman of the Ascot Authority, and the welcoming party await her. First race today, the Chesham Stakes, will bring back happy memories for the Queen. Free agent, 10 years ago, coming home in the Royal Silks. And just look how full that is. And take it from me, it's been full for a little while. This is such an important and integral part of Royal Ascot for so many thousands who will start booking next week, I'm sure, or as soon as Ascot will allow them to return next year. And the Greys' work is done in the next minute or so. Queen will disembark in front of the weighing room. Receiving line including a senior and shortly to retire senior member of the British Horse Racing Authority's field force. Ian Balding with his wife in the second carriage, and William Haggis and Maureen, of course, whose father Lester Piggott won 116 races at Royal Ascot, including 11 times champion jockey. And Willie Mullins, one of four brothers, and if you've ever had the pleasure of meeting his mother, there's no prouder lady I've ever met in Ireland of the team Mullins. And there are the Greys, Storm front right, and the others. They've done a fantastic job. And well done too to the groomsmen. Must be hot in that uniform, but it's spotless and immaculate. And I would think the Windsor Greys will get the Sunday off. The three Landau's led by the Cleveland Bays as Johnny Weatherby greets Her Majesty. Line of trustees headed by Sir Francis Brooke are introduced to her. Also in the receiving line is David Jones, who is the senior steward of the day. And just on the left of picture, a man who has been involved in racing for 40 odd years. He now lives in York. He retires this August. The senior clerk of the scales, Charles Stebbing, used to work for all sorts of people. He actually worked for Mr. Weatherby once, years ago, in the days when the Jockey Club were the controlling body, worked in the point-to-point team. He won't be finally weighed in until the E-Ball meeting at York, but this is his last day after more than 40 years in racing at Royal Ascot. I know his proud wife, Sarah, is with him, and great honour for him on his the final day at Royal Ascot. Other members of the Royal Party disembark as well, and will take the short walk to the Royal Box, although in this weather, enjoying every second of being outside. The Queen's love of racing and her passion for racing comes across, I'm told, to anybody that's ever had the pleasure of speaking to her for more than about 30 seconds. She has such a great knowledge. And not only, of course, is she an owner, but she's also a breeder. And when there was some doubt about the future of the Cleveland Bays, who are now the horse that, alongside the Windsor Greys, take the Royal Procession, Her Majesty, one of those breeders who made sure that there was a breeding line for the future. The Duke of York behind her in conversation, top left of picture with Sir Francis Brooke, one of the trustees. And there's William Haggis. Clearly not in the doghouse for keeping Her Majesty up that Friday night. What a famous result that was in Belmont. I wonder whether that horse will go travelling again. William trains from Somerville Lodge in Newmarket. Had his first winner as a trainer 31 years ago. Just to the right you can see his wife Maureen. A very, very integral part of their training operation.
Final line, please, Mike.
So the Queen makes her way to the Royal Box, and she, like the rest of us now, turn thoughts